Hello and welcome to our call to prayer, reflection, and hope.
Good evening. My name is Ziggy and I'm a member of this parish, and I've been asked to share some thoughts with you regarding our scripture this evening. About 5 years ago, I was in the west of Ireland with a group of writers, and we were visiting a number of sacred sites, wells and burial grounds. And one day we took a long hike up the mountains of Connemara near Galway, and we were hiking up to St. Patrick's Bed at the summit of the Croagh Mountains in County Mayo, where it is said in the year 440 St. Patrick spent 40 days and 40 nights there. I'll never forget that landscape. It was stony, rugged. This was a desolate part of the country, the kind you don't really see in the guidebooks about Ireland or on the postcards. It was in the middle of nowhere, you might say. And about 3 miles up this long valley, I saw this stony mound, this limestone blocks, very pointed and jagged in this big circle. And there was a little hillock there. And in the midst of this pile of stones, about as big as a large trampoline, there was a piece of lush grass, the kind of emerald green that you really only see in Ireland. And in the middle of this grass, there was one sheep. It was a ram, and it was all alone. There was no shepherd in sight, and there was no flock. I was baffled until I actually remembered the scripture we just heard tonight, and I took out my camera. But more importantly, I recorded that image in my mind. It's seared into my brain. And I think it's so that I could share it with you tonight. Words like abandoned, confused, lost, forgotten, desperate, alone crossed my mind. That ram was there when we walked up the mountain and when we came back down again. Why, I wondered, where was the shepherd? I cannot forget that image. And tonight we hear this comforting passage from Jeremiah. I myself will gather them all and bring them back. I will raise up shepherds to look after them and pasture them. Not one shall be lost. But some have been lost. We've lost many. Young boys and girls have been lost. They've been betrayed, wounded, violated, and we grieve for what has been lost, for their innocence and for their trust. In the first reading, Jeremiah says, "It is Yahweh who will do it." And in the Gospel of John, Jesus says, "Peter, you must do it." And I'm sure you know that those words are meant for you and for me. We're the ones who, like lambs, need to be bleating louder and louder and more persistently. My brother is hurt. My sister is wounded. My daughter, my niece, my nephew, my neighbor. Pope Benedict, while in London this past weekend, said that he hoped, and I quote, "This chastisement will contribute to the healing of the victims, the purification of the church, and the renewal of her age-old commitment to the education and care of young people." As members of the laity, let us be vigilant in holding our leaders to the fire of purification. The heat is on, and for good reason. Not only should our hierarchy be held accountable, but should use this crisis as an opportunity to shine the light on this horrific abuse against children that's going on everywhere. It is the hidden hush-hush sin. 1 in 3 girls, 1 in 6 boys were sexually abused in their childhood, according to statistics from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. And I was one of those girls when I was 8. And I was told, don't tell Nernie, this is our little secret. No more secrets. Jesus asks us, do you love me? Feed my lambs. Look after my sheep. How do we do this? I know God will use you and me to go out there and climb the stony mountain, to go into the thicket, to wade into the cold river, to rescue the lost one. Who will say, I am sorry, come home? We must make ourselves available to listen when someone needs to share their pain, even when it's hard. We must become knowledgeable about the signs and effects of this horrific problem. And we must trust that God is doing just what Jeremiah said he would do. I myself will gather them all. And it's God who brought us here tonight. If we give the Spirit a little room, a friend of mine likes to say, who knows what could happen? We're giving the Spirit a little room tonight. Let's see what happens when we say, yes, Lord, you know I love you.